Conditionals, if statements. If statements are called conditionals because they execute code if a certain condition is true. Look at this code right here. In the function f, on the first line, it always prints a, and n equals empty string, so it stays on the same line. And then, if x equals 0, which is a test, this is going to be a Boolean value, true or false. X either equals 0 or it doesn't. If it does equal 0, we go into the body of the if statement. So we'll execute these two lines. And if it does not equal 0, we simply skip the body and continue afterwards. So when we call f of 0, we'll print a. X does equal 0 in that case, so we go in here and print b, then c. And then when we're done with the conditional, and proceed and print d. So a, b, c, d. Whereas when f equals 1, here we still print a, but because 1 does not equal 0, we skip the entire conditional and proceed with d, so it prints AD. When we run this, we see there's ABCD for 0 and AD for x equals 1. Here's a more interesting example, computing the absolute value function. You wouldn't have to do this because it's built in, ABS of n, but it's a good pedagogical example. Let's look. One way to do it is to test if n is negative. If it is, set it equal to the negative of itself. So negative 3 is less than 0. We'd set negative 3 equal to the negative of negative 3, positive 3. That's what we set n equal to. And by the time we get here, n is always not negative. This is the same exact code, only instead of placing this on a new line, we put the body of the conditional on the same line. This is okay to do, but only do it if your body of your conditional is very simple. For starters, you can only do it if it's one line. But in any case, even if it's a complicated line, put it on a new line by itself. In a simple case, though, it's okay to do this. You can also rely on the fact that return ends the function. So if n's less than 0, we just immediately return negative n. If n was negative 3, right here we'd return negative 3 or positive 3. In that case, we'd never get to the next line. So that works. And if n was positive, we'd skip the body and would simply return positive n. So this works as well. This fourth case is terrible, and you should never do it, ever. But we include it here because some people sadly do it. They code this way. And it relies on a certain fact. It's relying on the fact that true times 5 is 5, and false times 5 is 0. That is, when you use true and false in arithmetic, true acts like 1 and false acts like 0. So if I test if n is less than 0, if that was true, this would equal 1, and we'd multiply by negative 1 and negative n and get negative n. If this was false, it'd be 0, which we multiply by negative n and get 0. In this way, we can sort of select if we want to do negative n or positive n. It works, but again, it's terrible. Look how unclear this code is compared to the clarity of all the examples above it. And clarity matters so much in coding. So do not code this way, but if someone does code this way, you should be able to understand what they're doing. And when we run this code, here's what you see. All of these examples run the same way. So there are many different ways to write this simple little function. Which way is best? Well, that's a matter of aesthetics and preference. I would probably personally like this one, but I could see this one being okay too. The only one that I would say is wrong is this one. It works, it's technically correct, but please do not do it. So that is an if statement.